Hi, I'm Minister Jehudi, founder and co-spiritual director of InSpiritTruthCenter here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'd like to welcome you to InSpirit TV. InSpirit TV is our YouTube channel that gives you an inside look at our Celebrate Your Life service. Let's take a look at what we're doing here at InSpiritTruthCenter, and I'll come back and talk to you in a few minutes.
God is truly awesome. So awesome that God gave us Twinkies, Hostess cupcakes. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about Twinkies and Hostess cupcakes, it takes me back to a time in my childhood where things were so simple. They were wonderful. I mean, you could go down the street to the little store and with your quarter, a quarter would go a long way. You just could get all kinds of stuff, but the most important thing was to get some Twinkies. So when they came out on the news over the past few weeks that Hostess was shutting down and we may never have Twinkies again. The devastation, the idea of living in a Twinkie-less universe. How would we do it? How would we manage to move on? So of course, what do the baby boomers do? In all their melodrama, thinking about ourselves as usual, run to the store with a grocery cart and clear off the shelves of all the Twinkies. They have preservatives. They'll last. Maybe a lifetime. And if you couldn't get to the store and get any, why, you could go on eBay and buy a box of Hostess Twinkies for $200,000. That's right. But it looks like we're not going to have to deal with a Twinkie-less universe because there's been some saving grace out there of others that have said they will buy it. So calm down. It's okay. We will still have Twinkies, I'm sure.
So, Rev Deb is talking about a Twinkie-less universe. Of course, it's obvious that she wrote this after finding out that Hostess was taking away her Twinkies. But you see, so often we're holding on to things that we need to let go. Let's finish listening to what Rev Deb has to say about a Twinkie-less universe.
But it leads me to my discussion today, which is really more about hoarding. And what we hoard and why we hoard. If you ever walk down and see the homeless folks, often you'll see them with their shopping carts. Their shopping carts contain their most prized possessions. I mean, they have these shopping carts full and are very protective of these shopping carts, mind you. But they're hoarding the things that are most valuable to them. And now we know that people do this in their homes too, because there's a show called Hoarding, where you see people in their homes that can barely walk through it because they are hoarding one particular item or another. But when you look at the psychology of it all, what they're hoarding is based upon something that makes them feel secure and safe. It's because of some issue in their life that they're not quite able to deal with, so they're holding on to these outward material manifestations in order to hang on to it in whatever way they can. And it's still not that different from the piece of biting into that Twinkie and going back to that nostalgic time of childhood where things were so much simpler. But hoarding is not only an outward manifestation. People hoard stuff inside all the time. I mean, the hoarding inside is far more damaging than anything we could hold out there in the physical world. And why do people hoard? Why do they hoard these negative experiences? One word: fear. Fear is one of the most subtle and destructive errors in thinking that we can experience. Fear paralyzes mental action as well as weakens the mind and the body. Fear will paralyze you. You can't think. Your body won't move. It constricts. Your breathing is shallow. Fear obscures the power of all the spiritual forces that are always with us. because we've shut them down. We can't hear them. We can't get the leading and the guiding of the Spirit within. It makes us feel isolated, alone, and worst of all, fear makes us feel separated from God. My favorite scripture is the 23rd Psalm. And verse 4 of the 23rd Psalm says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." The shadow of death is any circumstance or event that makes us feel separated from the love of God. That's what fear does, makes us feel separated. So we've got to keep this verse during those times. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Yea, though I walk through this experience, which is pulling on my very soul, which is making me angry, which is hurting me, which is causing me to mistrust. Even though I go through these experiences, God is with me. I am never separated from God. God is evenly present all the time, everywhere, and never separated from me. I just need to be aware of that. You just need to be aware of that.
We're working with a theme here at InSpirit Truth Center, as you can see. The theme is renunciation, elimination, letting go of stuff that you don't need to hold on to. You heard it with me, you heard it with Reverend Stan, and now you're hearing it with Rev Deb. We have to let go of stuff that's holding us in old situations and old circumstances. Purge it, eliminate it, let it go, so that you can be exactly what God created you to be. I want to give you one thing that I took away from this. Detachment. Trying to think that future situations are going to be predicated on past behaviors. You know what? Just because someone was acting like a fool at one point doesn't mean that they can't change. So let it go. Don't allow the future to be dictated by your past experiences. I'm Minister Judy of InSpirit Truth Center, and I'll talk to you next time, right here on InSpirit TV.